Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat, and you can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can also find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter and CB Caps on Instagram. And the
I love how you were taken off the high of the crowd reaction. You know, it's so nice to get that pop. You know, talk about wrestling terms. It's nice to get that pop from the crowd. All of a sudden, it's oh no, not the theme music.
That's not my thing, but yeah, that's just like okay, yeah. I'm just thinking, like, I don't know why the definition of insanity is apparently in effect, because I'm thinking he's not going to do it this time. He's not
because of course he's going to do it this time until I get an alternative, and that is me, ladies and gentlemen. Hit the intro.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that voice you just heard is the back to normal voice of one Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
We're Brooklyn at! We're Brooklyn at! We're Brooklyn at!
What's up, everybody?
We still have morning radio voice or morning voice samples, clips of him, so don't worry. Don't worry. But not with us tonight is one PC_dirt on Twitter. Also Pop Culture Net on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com, and his umbrella sites therein. And the Osiris of this ish, Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, CB Cron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. The Click Nation, that's the KLIQTH. I'm sorry, the KLIQNATION. I must be sleepy or something.
Yeah, we're also tonight, folks.
The theclicknation.com, and of course, Comic Book Resources, where he's over there writing his face off. I have no alcohol tonight, so which probably is going to make it either better or worse. I don't know. We'll see. You can find this here program on the Coastal of the Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, on the Coastal of the Podcast SoundCloud page, and Spotify. And with all of that out of the way, we will get into the books of the week, starting with Valkyrie Jane Foster, number 666. 6666.
It's so funny. As a quick aside, you mentioned Spotify, and I was surprised to find out that the founder of Tidal has his music back on Spotify as of a few days ago.
Oh, really? Hove put it? Well, yeah, because he knew he couldn't keep it off there forever.
Yeah, so. Allegedly it was like in honor of his 50th birthday, and I was like, okay, I see.
Right. December 4th. That's right.
Oh,
Hove.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, just message us on social media, and we'll let you we'll straighten you out.
Exactly. You know, if you don't know that name, then hey, we don't know what to do about for you. But anyway,
so back to the matter at hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that was on my mind already. It was I stopped myself.
Valkyrie Jane Foster. Yeah.
Sure. So this issue is the start of a new story arc, and we are immediately brought into Valkyrie's current status quo as assistant to the mortician in the morgue in the hospital that she works in. Yeah. And lo and behold, stuff starts popping in the morgue.
Yeah, and apparently not even starts, but happens again, because it's not the first time something has jumped off in there, and as the fact that did not go unnoticed to the head mortician.
Right.
Wait, he's not a mortician. He's a, what are they called? I guess, is that, what are they? There's a name for those folks that work in this.
Well, there's a couple, depending on what
mortician, but.
No, what I was going to say, depending upon what function he has, he could be a medical examiner. He could be
We'll go with Medical Examiner because that's probably the closest. Yeah.
Well, I'm only going by Mortician simply because that's what Aaron and Al Ewing use. Jason
Sure.
Aaron and Al Ewing use. That's how they describe it on the first page of the story.
Sure.
That's why it popped into
Yeah, and I remember seeing that, but I was like, that seems technically not right. But
right, because the Mortician is really the person in the funeral home.
right. And having had a family member who was such a person, I'm like, wait, that's not right.
Right.
But that's a side note. Regardless, we come to find out that the head mortician / medical examiner is pretty much no dummy for all of his eccentricities, and quickly learns that quickly basically says that, hey, I know who you are, so just stop the pretense. So one more person that knows who Jane Foster is, giving the count to I guess 3 at this point.
Right. There's a theme to secret identities in tonight's show that we'll get to later on.
Yeah, there is some of that. Wow, and actually, if I'm thinking what you're thinking, I think I know where we'll go next.
We could.
But yeah, so after this little episode where the dead ends up rising and leads Jane to seek out some help, figure out what goes, she goes to the other person that knows her identity and who just so happens to be having a guest starring spot in the last couple of issues, Doctor Strange. So which is weird that when we saw, because she goes to the sanctum and he's practicing magic. Not to get too far into the minutiae of that, but it's weird because it's like, yes, we know he's a practitioner of magic, but not the kind of magic we see him doing here, which was funny when I saw it.
Right. This is sleight of hand.
Exactly. I'm sitting here like, huh. Which you would think Doctor Strange would be like, that's not magic. What is, but I guess it kind of makes sense given that he has new use of his hands. I'm like, yeah, he's just practicing because it's like, some dexterity is needed for doing that. So I'm like, okay, this is Doctor Strange. We don't get to see that often.
Right. He was unable to, right, exactly. And because he was unable to practice this form of quote unquote magic, he probably has a greater appreciation for it than most.
Right. So, and yeah, he's always been the very serious, serious for him anyway, because he has bent a whole bunch of actual magic rules, in his times, but nevertheless,
definitely
still respect is there. So they go off on a thing, and we. Right. So
what I was going to say is, just to get us moving in the direction of the story.
Sure.
What starts popping in the morgue is actually what gets the story moving, and it's a message to Valkyrie that gets the story moving with regards to something amiss with, I don't want to call her a Mistress Death or Lady Death, but that's often how we are referred to her thanks to Thanos.
Sure.
But Death in the Marvel Universe. Yes,
and we come to find out that Death even might have an ending point at some point, the way this story is ended up coming, and we come to find out that a team is recruited to kind of look into things. A medical team at that, made up of lesser used, let's say, characters in the Marvel Universe. One of which, whom I know Al Ewing has definitely, I don't know if I could say have an appreciation for, but definitely use them to great effect. Hazef Hussein, aka Excalibur, which is kind of confusing given the group and the sword he has, but I love that character, so I was really happy to see her show up in this issue.
I completely forgot about the character. I'm being completely honest. I did not remember that this character was wielding the actual Excalibur sword. The character that really caught my attention, and I kind of one thing I really like the jokes about Night Nurse having a doctor in the house, probably called Day Doctor.
Yeah, I saw that.
But that actually made me laugh. But the character that caught my eye was Mannequin, who was from an era in Alpha Flight where I actually looked at that book every once in a while.
So I had to go look that up. I was like, this person does not seem that familiar. And then I saw words from Alpha. I'm like, huh, that explains all that then.
Right. But honestly, I couldn't tell you that character was an actual MD, a medical doctor from
Sure.
back then. And that may be a more recent development for the character. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Well, according to the wiki, no, he's always been
Okay
for a while. So yeah. Which is kind of funny because also I saw the name Whitman, and the first thing I thought was Dane, which given Phaser Hussein would make kind of some sense, but he's not a doctor. I mean, wasn't he a physicist or something? I don't know. Regardless, he was something, but especially given that his seed showed up last issue was also a thing, but this is not that person. They just happen to be.
Oh, and we also left Cardiac.
Yes, Cardiac from Spider-Man. I was like, huh, that's sure. That makes sense. Although, I don't know, because he kind of teeters on, he has teetered on whether he is good or bad, but apparently he's as abrasive here as he is in the Spidey books.
Sure.
So, sure, it makes sense. He's a practicing medical doctor. Why not? So anyway, they all go out and they breach Death's door. They're knocking on Death's door. And I almost wish I could say knocking on heaven's door, but it won't fit in this case.
Right. They're on the highway to hell. There's your musical reference. Shout out to AC/DC. So, while on the highway to hell, they get ambushed, and it's kind of straight out of The Walking Dead. And and luckily this particular group of this team of heroes gets their act together and figures out how to get past the walkers, and we come to the cliffhanger ending of our book.
Right, and also the weirdly, there's the way they were ambushed was also likened to a medical term, or it was likened to medical term, since it makes sense since the whole team were made up of medical professionals,
right,
as it were. So, which one thing about it, Night Nurse, we forgot to mention, not the Claire version, which I was like, oh, boo. But there's been like 2 or 3 versions of Night Nurse. So what are you gonna do?
Oh, right, yeah. I was about to say, I don't think they've incorporated the Netflix version.
She has one up in a comic at probably about I want to say it's probably recent, but it wasn't. Sometime last year, I want to say she showed up in a book.
Okay.
I could slightly be wrong, but I know, but I feel like it has been a book I read, to put it up, but that's whatever. I'll look for that later. So that's pretty much the gist of it. And it's like, okay, this is a new arc where we're going. And we also know, I believe this is the issue that Al Ewing jumps off this book. Because we know he's not going to be on this book going forward.
I think it might be after the end of this arc.
Maybe.
Because it doesn't make sense for him to come off during this arc, but I think if I recall correctly, Ewing comes off and a new co-writer comes on, because there's more of like a high high mythology aspect to the story, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll see in the next issue. We can always check solicits. There's no point in figuring this out now on the fly.
Yeah. Like we know it's the thing that's going to happen. When it happens, it is what it is. So,
right.
And plus, we don't recall seeing anything at the end of this issue about it. So it's probably not this issue, but we know it's coming soon, regardless. So yeah, but that was the gist of the Valkyrie book. It was a good read, definitely. I'm almost kind of want to see this team. I don't know. Granted, it's kind of early to say this, but I kind of want to see this team show up someplace else. But it's partially out of the fact that I kind of just want to see Phaser Hussein come up somewhere else. I like that character. She's kind of dope.
I don't remember much about her, so I don't have anything good or bad to say.
So looking her up, and I do remember this, but she started out in the Captain Britain and the MI6 book. That's where she kind of came in, and then Ewing used her. Well, I think the only other time I remember seeing her was Ewing used her in a Secret Wars.
That's where I remember her.
And I want to say part of that was, and I don't know if it was a retcon or whether it was the case, basically them putting her as an Inhuman, and she may have already been, but I want to say that may have came out then or somewhere around it because I feel like I've seen when that happened. But yeah, but she's popped up here and there, since then, just not that often. So, but yeah, that's that. I guess actually, since we're talking about Ewing, you want to go to the actual Ewing led book?
Sure.
Immortal Hulk number 28.
Before we start, shout out to Alex Ross for a pretty kick-ass cover. I really was struck seeing this cover.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Where it again, we'll definitely see this on a couple of times this week, where some nostalgia gets brought back up, as this book tends to want to do anyway. But just Marvel's been doing a pretty good job of kind of bringing up some old joints.
Right.
There's the Teen Brigade in this issue.
Right.
Not led by not led by Rick Jones. So
yeah.
Go figure. Apparently, the Hulk has started a movement since he took down Roxxon's server, and this is basically Dario Agger going about his day, figuring out what's been going on, and also figuring out a plan to kind of combat the Hulk's brand of uprising.
Right. The Hulk has basically taken aim at Roxxon. And after the events of last issue, when he knocked out, and mild spoilers for anyone who's not caught up on Immortal Hulk, the Hulk took aim at Roxxon's social media empire, basically by taking out its servers. Roxxon in the Marvel universe essentially runs their version of YouTube, Facebook, and
Fox News.
And right, yeah, it's an amalgamation of several different real world media outlets, but obviously with the Roxxon evil corporation spin.
Exactly. So yeah, we kind of get a couple of different things. We see Agger, getting caught up on the losses and whatnot, and trying to spin it a certain different way. Then we get another part where this security guard, who there's probably some real world parallels to the way this guy thinks, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we get get his point of view until you can't have a Hulk book without the Hulk showing up, and who certainly does eventually, while these other two things are going on. But that's just because that happens. But Iger just pretty much seeks out a resolution to his problem and how to spin things. And at the end of this, we end up, as what tend to happen every other probably 2 or 3 issues, another old Hulk haunt happens to come back into the fold one way or another.
Right.
So, which I haven't seen this version of this, unless maybe I'm not thinking who this person is, who I'm thinking it is. Because that is Wendigo, isn't it?
No.
I don't think so.
No, that's Zemnu the Titan.
Okay. So that was like, wait, that's like Wendigo looks very different. That doesn't seem right. And okay, there you go.
Right. So Zemnu is, if I recall, I remember seeing him. I was like, oh, that's Zemnu, because he's got that crazy, like, weird hairdo.
Sure.
If you the big hint that it's Zemnu before even seeing him is that he heard Dario Agger thinking of an old enemy, of causing them pain. And if I recall correctly, Zemnu the Titan has psychic abilities.
Aha. There you go. History lesson, folks.
That's why we host the show, folks.
Yeah, between the two of us, I'm sure there's some sort of knowledge base there.
If all 4 of us were, if we had the entire Comic Book Chronicles Voltron assembled, we would have gotten that much faster.
Sure.
Zemnu the Titan's powers, or I'm still like I think so. Apologies for not being completely prepared for this show, folks. Got started a little late.
Hey, look, we're what's life without a little bit of spontaneity, right?
Got it. Got it.
But yeah, there's also, before we go into any further, there's also a reference to a Sunset Bane, and not the Bane of Batman Fair, but the Sunset Bane that started out in from Machine Man, which talk about deep cuts, and also has who's also had a run-in with Alpha Flight. So going back to that, so
Sunset Bane.
Apparently,
no. Banetronics is raising some hell in the Tony Stark Iron Man book right now. So they definitely have had an increased profile over the last year or two.
Sure.
Ever since Slott rebooted that Iron Man book,
right.
Bane and Sunset Bane and Banetronics have come back as a force in the technological world of the Marvel Universe.
Gotcha. Yeah, I feel like, man, maybe I don't know. I'm not sure where I've read anything else that I've read that it might have had her in it, but yeah, regardless, that kind of shows up in the book. So there are other players abound. And I feel like if they're mentioning her, well, that doesn't mean anything. Roxxon get mentioned in a whole bunch of places. That doesn't mean they're going to come up in the story at any given time, because just ancillary other companies that are in the universe.
Right, and it's part of the story of how the Hulk's efforts to take shots at Roxxon are working.
Yeah,
and this as Roddykat mentioned, this forces Dario Agger to take aggressive steps to try to combat the Hulk by finding his own quote-unquote Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a second parallel story happening in this issue with regards to someone who is dealing with who has difficulty dealing with some of the I was going to say some of the not even the changing world, but some of the atmosphere that how the atmosphere has changed with some of the changing world, and how they're having problems not just dealing with the changes but with the atmosphere that comes of it.
Right, which is why I alluded to a real world parallel earlier, and also
right.
you could almost say this guy's probably could have been one of those comic book man babies that are still floating around that should probably die. But that's just a personal thing. So yeah, there is that, and I guess whether we see any more from that next issue, we probably will, because it didn't get resolved.
Right. It's only at this point we only see a pretty cool intervention, because the guest art team on this book does a really good job of throwing a curveball at the reader and making us think that something bad is really going to happen.
Right.
Obviously, Ewing puts that into the story, but right. The art team really does an excellent job of selling the fact that something is hinted at that's going to happen that's really bad.
Yeah, which props to the temporary art team. I do have it in my notes. Said the art held up even with the temporary change, because we know Joe Bennett has had a personal thing going on, therefore he couldn't be on the book. For I guess I don't know how many issues he's going to be off of it, but that's the case. So art still holds up. So unless we have something else on Immortal Hulk, we can move on.
No, it's a pretty interesting issue. It's not as overly dramatic as some of the recent ones have been, but it definitely gets the story moving along.
Yeah, and I suspect it will probably whatever this is the catalyst of will probably bear out in the next issue or two.
Right, and they're definitely not leaving Dario Agger the Minotaur alone. He's gone from being one of the primary villains of War of the Realms to now one of the primary villains in the Hulk book.
Mm-hmm. So, and we're still waiting for the one or two Hulk villains or whatever that hasn't shown up yet. So, taking our time here.
You got it.
So next up, you alluded to something earlier. I guess you want to get whatever book you were thinking about.
Sure, Secret Identities. So if anyone out there has not been plugged into comic book news, we've spoken about it Maybe not at length. We try not to spoil everything, on this show. We do sort of dance through the raindrops to try to avoid spoiling everybody. But this particular event that finally happened in Superman issue number 18, written by Brian Michael Bendis and drawn by the art team of Ivan Rice. I'm looking for the rest of the team here. Is Ivan Rice on pencils, Joe Prado on inks, and Alex Sinclair on colors. What happens in this issue was the subject of a New York Times piece not that long ago. It's probably in your social media feed if you know anyone interested in this. But yeah, I'll ring the spoiler bell just so that you can avoid it, but you probably already know, but this is just for those select few.
I'm pretty we pretty much talked about it, well, to a point
Right.
in a couple of weeks. So
Sure, but 3, 2, 1. So Superman has revealed himself to the world as Clark Kent in a pretty grand and unambiguous way. And I'm not going to spoil everything about this, but that's pretty much how it happens. It doesn't happen by it's completely by choice. It is, it is at his own behest. It is not an inadvertent unmasking. Not that he wears a mask, but
because of any kind of civil war type situation.
Exactly. It's not through any of that. Although I think the Bendis speak and the Bendis reasoning in this, I think, still leaves something to be desired. I still think I don't completely buy the reasoning behind why he would reveal his secret identity to the world, because it just creates it's a double-edged sword. It creates stories because it creates problems for the characters.
Right.
And that's what they're right, exactly. And that's what they're going, that's the road that they're choosing to go down.
Yeah, I haven't read this issue yet, but yeah, because I'll be honest, I'm not outside of Young Justice. I'm not really looking forward to reading too much Bendis for that reason, because yeah, he has I don't want to say an issue with that, but let's face it, it's an issue with that sometimes, the way when he does some stuff. So yeah, he's no stranger to things like this before. So, and as to his credit, as he has said before, hey, this has happened before under his watch, and it's stuck for years. So I imagine this is not a just fly by night thing. That's going to be around for a minute. To what end? I guess we'll see going forward, since he's got the reins of that little thing.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I can't really say too much about it because I hadn't read the issue yet. So,
well, really, that's essentially what happens, because the next issue has a tagline called "Now What?" So we have yet to see the real ramifications. This issue was really focused upon the reveal, which really was an announcement. And that's sort of a spoiler for what actually happens in the issue. But the next issue is going to be the fallout and the ramifications of what happens in this issue. So we will see how DC and Bendis decide to treat this going forward, especially since we're still in the middle of the year of the villain, supposedly.
Right. Well, and yeah, in some cases, yeah, we definitely are, because especially with the Justice League stuff, which I don't know when this is going to take place. I assume this takes place after that.
Right.
That's about to come to an head.
Right. There's only one issue left in that.
Right.
1 or 2, I think. So
no, actually, I think next issue is the big end of that one. Right. Minus any kind of epilogue or whatever they plan on doing coming out of it, but yeah, that, and we'll start seeing ramifications of it through other books, I'm sure. If any has already started, I'm not sure, because neither one of us reads that many DC books.
Right. Although we definitely try to stay abreast, because obviously we keep up with the news.
Right.
So,
yeah. Or it'll hit something that we do, because I know I've been reading Lois Lane, and as of that the issue that came out last week, it hasn't hit, but which quite comes naturally. Matter of fact, that was dealing with Leviathan, or something that came out of Leviathan, which I didn't know anything about. But so it is what it is. Next up, I guess if we're done with that.
Yep, we're done.
I guess on a lighter note, Arrow number 6.
Sure.
Because there was some identity, an identity thing came up then, not to the extent, but something did. So basically, the short of it is, hey, apparently everything Arrow did to try to stave off whatever crystal entity, for you Star Trek folks, that popped up overnight, wasn't apparently enough, because there was some more end up popping up all over the city, but she's still thinking about some things that happened the night prior to that with everything, and her boyfriend, which comes in with the identity thing, because he straight up asked her if she was indeed Arrow,
right? Basically proves that he's not an idiot,
but kind of is, because he believed it. So he believed what she said. So actually, I take it back. We don't, because she basically said no, but I don't think we got his. Well, we got a little bit of his reaction after that, so we don't know if that was like the end of it. But but yeah, definitely he's not either. He put all the pieces together. I'm like, you know what? Hey, there you go. So, but she kind of waved it off and tried to change the subject, and she's still kind of thinking about that. So I suspect that that's probably going to come up again if they're smart about it, but we don't know. But because she's interrupted in thought by an unexpected video to her offices of someone we've seen in the book before, but did not expect to see here and then, which is her old mentor slash, I guess, enemy at this point, Madam Hong.
Right.
So we will definitely see what happens with that in the next issue, because that pretty much threw her off guard. And in the backup story, which is probably a little greater thing going on, because we see some shades of Atlantis Attacks comes in, because not only did
say again
Atlantis Attacks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wait, what you thought I said?
No, I just said it quickly. I didn't catch it.
Oh. So we get shades of Atlantis Attacks by not only invoking the name of Namor, but he shows up at the end of the issue.
I mean, we had suspected this, right? We had suspected this from the beginning, and with this backup story has been told in 6 parts, which has actually led to a pretty good pace for this reveal and for the eventual reveal of the Atlantis Attacks, the new version, Atlantis Attacks 2.0 version 2 crossover that's coming out by Marvel.
Yes, everything old is new again.
Right, and we suspected it, and we were completely 100% right.
Yeah, we definitely were, because we knew the things that were going on in this backstory was going to have some kind of was going to come up some kind of way with that, and sure enough, it is. And especially since this new Atlantis Attacks is supposedly dealing with the Agents of Atlas in the first place, then you knew it at some point, something was going to come of it, and we got a water-based hero. Actually, we got like at least 2 or 3 of them in the Agents, I think.
All the water-based heroes who's going to be in this particular crossover.
So of course Namor shows up, and it even says to be continued in Atlantis Attacks. So whenever that jumps off, that'll be. I'm assuming it's going to be January. I'm guessing. I don't remember when that's supposed to start.
Yes, my understanding is that it's soon. So
because Incoming is supposed to come out starting this month. So
yeah, there was some news about the big crossover event coming out of Incoming,
right,
for the spring and summer. I think you may have gotten it for
if it's in that article that I'm thinking about. Yes,
I saw it drop this afternoon.
Yeah, there's some books that are coming out in March, and but we'll get to
or
that.
April even.
Well, this article talks about March, but yes, going into that stuff regardless is
okay.
Seems to be the case.
Stay tuned for the news, ladies and gentlemen. All right.
Indeed. So so that's the whole thing that's going on. It's like, and I guess Invaders might. I assume Invaders, whenever that drops, is going to kind of lead somewhat into this. I'm going to assume.
I think so too. Invaders are set to end this month, so I think it's in the next issue, which is going to come out within the next 2 weeks.
Right.
We're probably going to see how Invaders wraps and leads into Atlantis Attacks.
Because that would be a missed opportunity if it didn't. So,
all right.
Well, they can't do it in Avengers because that's already in something else, unless they do is like something like, hey, this is going on at the same time kind of situation. But whatever.
Right.
Next book, if you want to go ahead and pull up one.
Right. Let's see. What did we read? Did you read Fantastic Four number 17?
I did.
This was a great book this week. There's a lot, speaking of fill-in art teams, this book had a couple of, actually more than a couple, quite a few fill-in artists to team up with Sean Isaacs, who's been doing a bang-up job on this book art-wise. So it was slightly inconsistent art-wise, but it didn't detract too much from the story.
Right.
Where we find ourselves is at the beginning of the book is a flashback to the creation of the quote unquote superheroes of the planet. What's this planet called?
I don't know. I just call it
Spire.
Spire, but I don't know if that's a planet name or just where they are.
No, it is. They landed on Spire. I just was looking at the first page, the recap page.
Right.
So the planet is called Spire, and the heroes are called the Unparalleled. And we find out that the heroes on this world were engineered by a certain, by basically the lead bad guy to us, right, to the FF. And that's the core of the flashback. But we also see, and we've already kind of known how the class system in Spire was created as a result of the creation of these heroes,
right?
And
the other side of we basically get the other side of that coin, where the outcasts,
right? The last two issues, Ben Grimm, we followed the Thing, who kind of embodies the quote unquote ugly side of the transformation that the FF went through. And that's the equivalent of these creatures who have found themselves, I think they call it Lowtown.
Yes.
Right. They find
because I think there's a place in Marvel that is also called Lowtown, but it's kind of weird. Anyway,
I think you're right. But it's essentially like the Inhumans, social caste system.
Right.
If they're in this case, if their transformation goes awry or doesn't produce like a beneficial power, they're cast into Lowtown, never to be seen again.
If you not have powers that are beneficial or one of the beautiful looking people with your powers, then you get cast out.
Right.
Which also, weirdly enough, I guess there may be a parallel to be made, because like, okay, it's the parallel to which the first guy and Ben specifically, because it's like, okay, out of the four FF groups, Ben was quote unquote the strongest,
right?
Or somewhat, and the same thing happened to him. So you could almost draw a parallel as well. Okay, well, cosmic rays kind of makes that type person into some less desirable. I don't know if that's actually the case, but but if you're kind of drawing a parallel there, that is one you could do. Right. Regardless, we get a butting of the head of the two class systems here to great effect. The various members of the FF find each other again, that being Ben and Johnny, and I think, well, Root and C are around there, but they're kind of elsewhere. And speaking of being engineered, we come to find out at the end of this issue that a retcon has been engineered by these said people, were in relation to the Fantastic Four.
Oh, I love this retcon. It made me smile. I can only imagine the look on Dan Slott's face when he was like, and then I could just imagine the smile on his face when he came up with this particular retcon.
I don't know if I like it or not. I mean, I got a kick
out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was amusing to see. It was like, but then I could also see the already mad man babies and be like, "What? You just ruined the FF's thing by then." It's just but whatever. I'm not worried about them.
Not really, because the facts. I was about to say the facts never changed.
The fact never changed that yes, they what happens to them happened to them, but the fact that it was the way or I guess the
Oh,
reason
it was an accident, right? Exactly. Somebody accidentally did it on purpose.
right. So the fact that it wasn't an accident at all to a point.
Well, it was an accident. Exactly. It was the fact that they transformed was the accident. The fact that they were hit by cosmic rays was partially not an accident because the retcon here is, we won't spoil it, even though we kind of are. But the retcon is on the technical is of a very technical nature.
It's kind of fascinating, but at the same time, it's like, I'm still not sure how I feel about it.
Right. And at the same time, I also feel like years and years of rage directed at Reed Richards by Ben Grimm are going to have to be apologized for now.
Or redirected. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because this particular aspect of this particularly technical aspect has been part of the anger and the angst held by Ben Grimm for a long time.
Which, now that you bring that up, the blame still could be somewhat put on him, but not for that particular thing. Like, there's obviously things led up to that happening in the first place. It's still kind of on that, but you still can't blame Reed for what happened. And I'm kind of wondering, since you brought that up, if that's going to be addressed.
I would hope so. I would hope so.
To me. Yeah.
That's a fascinating development for those two characters.
Yeah, because after all these years, now granted, it hasn't changed, their friendship that much, but there have been moments,
Right. It's definitely been a storytelling element.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, I really, really was entertained by this book because there are, what's been developing is this weird relationship between Johnny Storm and his alleged
soulmate, basically.
Soulmate, yeah. It's kind of like he found himself in the good place. Shout out
how the other members of the crew was like, okay, this is Johnny. Like, he could go from here to being married in a couple hours, and then Reed was like, yeah, but he also be divorced in the next couple hours after that, so don't worry about it.
It was great. It was great. That was, there's, I give Slott, Slott's, I think, has been really struggling on the Iron Man book. Although he has, although because of the whole 2020 thing, the Iron Man 2020 thing, I don't know if he had the clearest vision outside of maybe getting from point A to point Z,
Right.
Z being the lead into 2020. But this book just feels like he's hitting on all cylinders, like he's having a lot of fun telling this particular story and adding to the story of the Fantastic Four. The team dynamic, as always, is so much fun.
Oh yeah,
having a lot of fun writing it.
Family from beginning to end. That's the thing that always comes out about it, and Slott kind of keeps that up in great fashion. So, but yeah, we'll see if what comes out of that revelation, if anything. Hopefully it does, because I would like to believe the Slott wouldn't just leave it out there.
Yeah, I'm totally looking forward to where this goes. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's a potential click of the week for me.
Okay. Word. Let's say one more book apiece, maybe, and then we hit wrap it, maybe.
Sure.
Let's hit an X book. So we haven't hit one of those this week. And maybe X-Force.
Okay.
Yes, X-Force number 3. Because that seems to be the most
spoilerific book. I'm gonna ring the bell.
Well,
I think so.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff happening in X-Force number 3, and a lot of
yeah, that's what I was kind of get to. It's basically the one that's like directly like everything that's going on in the X book is directly kind of going through that book.
Right. So let me ring the bell, because if you don't want to know what happens in X-Force 3, because you have not yet had time to read it, fast forward a little bit from this point after the bell in 3, 2, 1. All right. So we all know that at the end of last issue, we discovered how the hit team that took out Charles Xavier got onto Krakoa, thanks to some skin grafts from one. What is Domino's real name? I forget.
Nina. Nina. I can't remember.
Right. Nina. For some reason, it slipped my mind. But Domino was the source of this, and we also found out in the last issue why she was on the mission she was on, and where she was captured.
Mm-hmm. So this is Wolverine and Quentin Quire getting her out, and we get a little bit more exposition about that part. But at the same time, we're getting some, meanwhile back on Krakoa, some other behind the scenes things going on, and even in front of the scene in respect, because Magneto's kind of going out and having to do, I guess you can almost say, damage control, because the word got out about Xavier, but apparently that was slightly unnecessary, because in the course of this book we get Xavier back,
right? Pretty much. I mean, it's something. It was something of a test, and even the characters in the book felt like this was going to be a test of the Krakoan resurrection system that had been put forth during Hoxpox.
Right, because part of it had to go direct. Well, basically, part of it was kind of going through Xavier. So you lose that part. Do you actually lose the part that's kind of meaningful in the resurrection process? Which, from what we can kind of tell out of this book, maybe not. But I feel like there's something that's not being told about his coming back. That's not gonna.
Maybe
because no, something doesn't seem right, and maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I was about to say it's probably just something, like something you can file away for future reference and see if it comes true.
Yeah,
but go on.
No, I was about to say, but the only other thing we've come to find out, because of Xavier's back and everybody now knows it, that he's back, and everything that has taken place up until now, we come to find out that, hey, there is now a need for the Shadow Ops team of X-Force to be reinstated, which, granted, there has been those already, or at least in a certain sense, given one other book, but that's a whole personal mission. But yes, we now know that, hey, the need for X-Force is now necessary again. And not only do we find that out, but spoiler alert, we find out that there are opponents of the mutants that are also getting together there, or has together their Shadow Ops, giving that, the whole mission came about in the first place against Krakoa and the mutants.
Right. It was very Court of Owls.
Yes.
There's definitely a Court of Owls vibe to this. Also, I liked there are definitely a few things that I liked about this. One, the art by Joshua Cassara was shown brightly in this issue. I don't know if this I did not have a chance to look up whether or not he's done something that we would know, say he was doing something independent, or maybe for another publisher,
or something we've known for the big two that we just didn't recognize as his.
Right, because he's definitely stepped his game up, if that's the case. It's it's very good. There are some Attack on Titan visual cues in this issue that kind of made me laugh a little bit.
There is that. I didn't think about it that way, but you're right.
There's one particularly obvious scene. I'm just like, oh no, are we gonna go jumping around in those wacky jetpacks that shoot cables?
Agent 70 showing his growing anime acumen.
There you go. There you go. So
there was that thing that
I am not up to date, by the way, on Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. What else happens in this issue?
Pretty much the gist of it. There's there was a lot of talks, like you said, about whether the testing of the process and that other thing, that and other things. And I guess Wolverine and them are still out there, on that front of Domino's mission.
Right. And remember, I think, was it last week or the week before, you were asking about the Morlocks and the Morlock healers, right? He's front and center in X-Force right now.
To which there was a text thing that said that and I don't know if this was after that or before that, or maybe that part has been done with. It was like something basically happened to.
It happened after
Thre.
that scene, right? It happened after that scene. It happened off camera, basically, and he's been, he was injured as a result of that assassin that they tried to keep alive blowing up.
Right.
So.
Oh yeah, actually, there is something else with that. Speaking of that they did have one other person that they were trying to save to get some answers from, and that person got taken out by a shadowy figure.
Mm-hmm.
So they are back to square one at that point, unless something comes out of the disparate parts of the everybody else that was out or whatever.
Right, and besides, I mean, we know who the Xeno are now, so
yeah,
we'll see how all of that weaves together moving forward.
Rest assured, it is not horticulture. So
right.
you did finally read X-Men?
I'm sorry?
Did you finally read X-Men?
I did not. I am behind.
Oh, okay. Well,
I am behind. I regret to say that I did not yet read X-Men number 3 from last week, although I'm going to try to do it now.
Those who did, those who did will know who I'm talking about. So that was still a pretty good book. Anyway, so that is X-Force number 3. I think that's pretty much the size of that book.
All right. So I guess we can do some rapid fire and run through the rest of our books.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So from here on in, just let me know if you read any of my books. I think you've got a good list of books that I did not read.
For sure.
I'm going to cover these two Annihilation books together. Beta Ray Bill number 1 and Silver Surfer number 1. These are the next chapters in the Annihilation mini event for this winter, for this fall, and the story involving the Sentry and the Cancerverse invading the Negative Zone is moving forward. We definitely see these characters interact with the next logical stages of what happens in the Negative Zone. The one thing I would mention about the Silver Surfer issue, though, is it is a direct it's a direct follow-up to the events of Silver Surfer Black, and something regarding the Silver Surfer is that was not revealed in the Black miniseries was revealed in this issue, so it's definitely a change to his status quo.
And I believe it is also coming. It should, if I'm not mistaken, it should be coming off of the FF Annihilation from last week. Because
they're all following. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the Annihilation story, they're all interconnected. They're all following up on the events of the previous Annihilation hero title. But I'm speaking specifically about what happened about the Silver Surfer, the character.
Sure.
So that's that's definitely important to know. If you have not yet read any of the previous Annihilation hero issues, the FF issue and the Nova issue, I would suggest catching up on those so that you can get a full picture on what's happening.
Yeah, I'm talking about just hadn't read these two.
Right. Next up is Captain America number 17. We continue with Ta-Nehisi Coates' revisiting of the Scourge concept and his update on it, and he brings it into the into the current day. So there are definitely real world, current day parallels in the story that he incorporates.
So Scourge is a cop killer now?
Say again?
Scourge is a cop killer now?
Yes and no. So you should definitely read it. So there are events in this that kind of explain that away. So it's definitely something to see. It's definitely something to read and see how Coates is adapting the previous the previous ideas from the Grunwald cap run and adapting them into today's sensibilities. So it's a lot of fun for people who are longtime Cap fans, and I think for current day fans who may not be familiar with that, it's definitely got that real world parallel and intrigue to keep the story moving along and make you want to pick up the next issue.
So, if you just read this issue and the last issue, you'll be fine?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. Captain Marvel number 13. I read this issue because I did read the previous issue quickly just to see what was up with this Captain Marvel going rogue. No pun intended, right? This Captain Marvel going bad, heel turn. Shout out to pro wrestling and its terminology. We know there's a reason for the heel turn, and there's a great there's a hold on, looking so with any with that being aside, we find out that there's a reason for Captain Marvel's heel turn, and there's a reappearance of a character from A-Force, and it's a welcome return. It's nice to see this character come back and play a role in Captain Marvel's plan to try to get out from under the thumb of a particular character who we last saw in Death of the Inhumans. So,
is it Singularity?
Oh, the other character, the A-Force character, yes.
Yeah, I kind of figured that's the one that's been the only one that's been floating around. Yeah,
exactly. So it was nice to see that character come back and play a role in this story.
Cool.
Let's see. So we did FF. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 14.
I read this.
So, unfortunately, this is the last issue of this volume of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And Tom Taylor has definitely stuck to his guns and told stories within these 14 issues of Spider-Man and his neighborhood, and the relationships that he created as a result of some of these more grounded local stories within, basically within and under the 5 boroughs of New York City.
Yeah, and I love how his neighborhood kind of came together in this book.
Exactly.
In this issue, rather.
Exactly. And I freely admit that I was surprised to hear that all these people knew of what was going on.
Right.
But at the same time, it's kind of understood that because he is so friendly to these folks in his neighborhood and created friends, that he would share, at least with 1 or 2 people, and that would get around to his other friends who were connected to each other.
Right. So yeah, it was definitely a good read for that. It was like, oh, this is because usually in a story like this, Peter has classically made a promise but not been able to keep it because of going out and fighting crime. Mm-hmm. It looked as though it was going to go that way until the intervention of his friends, which was like, all right, that's great, but he still ends up having to go
exactly off. He still ends up having to do something that is reminiscent of one of the best scenes from Spider-Man Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw that and I saw what Tom Taylor wrote as part of the thought process, the in the captions, it was wonderful. I
see you, sir.
Yeah, seriously. If I see Tom Taylor in a at a con at this point next year, I'm definitely going to hunt down a copy of this issue and find some time to speak to him about this, because this particular sequence was a lot of fun.
Yeah, indeed. Is that it for you, or?
No, I'm going to keep moving quickly. New Mutants number 3.
Also read this.
Right. So, considering that the New Mutants, the OG New Mutants, and Mondo and Chamber are in space at the moment, I was pleasantly surprised to find out that the X Office is also going to use this New Mutants book to highlight some of the other younger generation X-Men, and that's what we get here.
Some of which I have said in the past that I don't care too much for, but they have a place. I'll say that.
Sure. So what was great about this, and was kind of given away by the cover, is that Armor, Glob Herman, and these two weird little kids who like, I think they're French.
Who caused a good bit of problems in the last iteration of the X books.
Right. But now they're, now they're on Krakoa and they're trying to play nice. And what we find is that Armor is looking to at least reach out to some of the mutants who have not yet relocated themselves to Krakoa, specifically members of the new X-Men, her old teammates.
Right. Yeah. Part of this issue was kind of bittersweet to me because it was like, because it started dealing with something that, of a situation that I have known of, but unfortunately it was, fortunately
it affects almost all of us, or affects people we know.
Exactly. But so they go, and which, I was actually kind of surprised that the people they went after first. I was surprised and not surprised, actually, because there are every now and then there's like, okay, yeah, these two characters end up coming up or get brought up in some kind of a way, and sure enough, Beak and Angel get brought up, which at one point Beak had lost his powers after End Day and all that kind of stuff, but all that's kind of out the window, so no need to really bringing that up. But they had settled down on a place with their parent, with his parents, and there was a reason for that, which is the reason why they didn't go to Krakoa. And also kind of makes me wonder is like, actually, I kind of wonder is like, I wonder how far they're going to go with this, because like we do know there are some people that have been unaccounted for, but we've also kind of seen some people here and there during the course of the Dawn of X stuff, in which in this issue kind of recounts a couple of them which we've seen, but we find out the reason why, and apparently Armor, kind of came with a Batman like, well, almost a Batman like preparedness, at least for part of it. But I guess because I take it back, because she knew what the deal was going in before they got there on that one part, so she came kind of prepared, which was a good thing to do.
Right. So what we have is a pretty heartwarming story up until the cliffhanger part of the end of the issue, where I don't want to spoil everything that's there, but they're confronted, and what I thought they were being confronted by were just some locals, and that was part of the charm. That was is Ed Brisson?
Yes.
That was Brisson lulling me into a false sense of security, just like these young X-Men were, these new X-Men were. And lo and behold, these rough and tumble guys are a little bit more prepared than we thought.
Right.
Deal with superpowered children.
Which, especially coming out of X-Force and what happened in that book, we knew there were folks out there with a similar type of preparedness, and, who were also underrated, or I guess, thought to be less of a threat than what they ended up being.
Right. And there is a great callback line right at the end of the issue that closes the issue. Going back to the beginning of the story, when they plan on, when they make their plans to make this visit to Beak and what was her name? Angel. Thank you.
So yeah, and we also going to find out that Beak and Angel have been propagating, have been making more mutants away from the island, apparently.
Yeah, they've been having their own special time. So
they've been busy. Yeah, they've been quite busy.
Yep, and that's it for me.
And yeah, and that's pretty much it for that book anyway. So for myself, yeah, I guess the question is like, how in the world they find out that they were there, one, but I guess we'll find that out next issue. So for my books, excuse me, Black Panther and the Agents of Wakanda #4.
I did skim this, so go ahead.
Okay. So we basically get a resolution to the quote unquote ego moon, which it wasn't actually a moon. It's basically one part, it's something that came out of a callback to Silver Surfer, actually, the last Silver Surfer. And the gardener copulating with Euphoria the planet, which go with that one, and ended up quite literally sowing the seeds of what sprung up on the moon. But that's been taken care of, and we saw Man Wolf, aka Star. What's his name? Star Wolf, Star God. What was his other name? Regardless, Man Wolf kind of has his
Star God.
Yeah, Star God. Yeah, Star God, the legendary outlaw.
Who?
Exactly. That is a callback, because Man Wolf in itself, it is what it is. And we also get that, well, he's, because of the resolution of what happens on the moon and where they end up in relation to that, Mr. One John Jameson has to go oversee a repopulation of an old turf of his.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we also get Bobby's official instatement to the team. So there is that. Oh, and also Forbush Man somehow shows up in a dream sequence. So hey, and Howard the Duck, but Forbush Man in this case is more of the weird one.
Right. And they also haven't abandoned that whole
oh yeah, the gorilla thing.
Yes, the gorilla
from Avengers. Yeah, they definitely make a point to bring that up. So I assume at some point I guess that's going to play out here.
Mm-hmm.
Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 13. This is a potential click of the week for me. Not just, well, actually, because of what happens at the end of this, and this has been in the news, and it definitely will be in the news later on this episode. But Miles and the Prowler, his uncle Aaron, are basically doing 16 blocks, except for they decided not to do it the hard way and circumvent some things. But they still have a little issue.
Oh, you mean they didn't run through Central Park and take the subway like the Warriors?
Sadly, no, they didn't. They decided to circumvent all of that. So I guess all of them, I was like, you know what, we don't actually have to do this. But and I know you haven't read this, so I won't give the whole thing away. But someone comes back into the scene real briefly, that we haven't seen in a few issues, in relation to Miles and a potential ally of his, which I was good to see. But in the end of it, which you already know, is a new addition to the Morales family.
That's addition, not edition.
Correct. Although, well, I mean, if they get their own book, it could be a new edition. So, and I totally forgot the name is, but regardless, it doesn't matter. So yes, Miles has now become a big brother. He has a little sister that they show in the last page, and we will definitely be getting more on that next issue, I'm sure. Fallen Angels number 3. So this is Psylocke, aka Quanon, X-23, and Cable out on their mission to find this godlike being Apoth, who Psylocke is trying to hunt down. And the mission goes on. The mission, they get split up, as tends to happen. X-23 and Psylocke has a teaching moment, I guess, but at the same time they're kind of on thing. And apparently there's might be a little bit more to Apoth or we're finding out a little bit more to this Apoth being than we originally was told. Far Sector number 2. So this is a DC book. This is from sci-fi writer N.K. Jemisin, about a Green Lantern who has been thrust out into the far reaches of space as a cop, because they are investigating not one but 2 murders that happened in this far away place that hasn't had a murder in centuries. And this is also her. The Lantern's name is Joe Sojourner, something like that. I can't remember. No, Sojourner Mullen, excuse me, is the Lantern's name, and she's basically still trying to acclimate herself to this place and the various societies that are mixed in together, and also trying to solve this murder at the same time. So it's actually been a pretty good book. It continues to be a pretty decent read. So I'm curious to see where this is going to go. Like I said last time we talked about it, I'm sure, but I've been enjoying it. And last but not least, Amazing Mary Jane #3. Which shenanigans abound because the Savage Six invade the set, which causes some problems for the production of the Mysterio movie, aka Joker Light. I don't know, but
Okay.
people are freaking out, but except for Mary Jane, who's kind of cold and calm and continuing to do her thing. And even with the setbacks that the Savage Six bring up, the production goes on, and it looks like Mary Jane is finally going to get her production credit.
Nice.
If the one panel is to be believed. So, this continues to be a pretty good book. And so she also calls in a favor, which I found kind of amusing. For those in the delivery service who doesn't have powers, better watch out. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Yes. And that is it. We now go to Clicks of the Week.
Clicks of the Week. All right.
We have one already from one Tim Dog 98, and that would be X-Force #3.
Nice. A good pick. I think we also got one from PCN_Dirt as well.
No, well, he basically said he only read one, but and sure,
no, yeah. I was about to say, yeah, that's not fair.
He didn't pick it up.
He didn't nominate it,
right. But yeah, actually, beyond what he said, or outside of what he said, I'll put it that way. Because that last sentence aside, there are a lot of reprints that came out this week, including like the first the first premiere issue of Tigra from Marvel Chillers #3 back in the day.
Really?
Yeah, there was I saw a bunch of stuff on Comixology that was like I think some Tales to Astonish I think was also in the mix or something. Like it was a bunch of reprints. I'm like, they're really going hog on this stuff, which is good to see because some of that stuff was like, oh yeah, I remember that stuff. There's some X-Men, like there's an X-Men annual that was reprinted. Yeah, Tales to Astonish, a bunch of them, including some Ant-Man and Wasp stuff and some Hulk stuff. So but that being aside, just something I noticed looking through Comixology, and also stalling for time trying to think of what I was going to pick. Do you have yours already, or?
I'm kind of stalling for time. I definitely have some good candidates though.
For sure.
I am between X-Force #3, which I really did enjoy, and Fantastic Four #17 because it was just a fun read. But I think I'm going to side with Tim Dog 98 and go with X-Force #3. With the Fantastic Four 17 coming in a really close second because it was just a lot of fun. But X-Force #3 had the requisite high drama notes, which was pretty.
Yeah, it's weird because X-Force seems to be, at this point at least, that might change. X-Force seems to be the book that normally would have been, the direct.
Oh, you mean like the
X books? What would be X-Men?
Yeah, the lead book. I gotcha.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting to see that it's shifted for the time being, or maybe who knows. But yeah, that's a pretty good pick. I think I am actually going to go with that Miles book was really good. I would say Amazing Mary Jane.
Okay.
For my pick, surprisingly, no, Jane Foster and Motorhawk always good, as it tends to happen, but. Amazing Mary Jane was pretty good, followed by Miles Morales, obviously, because that was
nice.
What come out of that? I mean, and Friendly Neighborhood actually, but because that was definitely a pretty good read.
Right. I'm literally scrolling through. X-Men #3 from last week. I'm gonna try to sit down and read it before going to bed. I'm like, wow, Gateway really is back.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, yeah, that part was like, all right, great. So
that's pretty cool. All right.
Yeah, after once you get past that part and when they get into the mission, it gets good.
Cool.
So now we're going to the cinematic news, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Busted Tees. This episode of the Comic Book Chronicles is sponsored by Busted Tees, your home for funny, awesome, cool t-shirts that are sure to get your friends' attention. Busted Tees puts many of their popular shirt designs on sale each week. Choose from several eye-catching t-shirts inspired by pop culture, cleverly themed t-shirts inspired by movies, video games, TV shows, comic books, and geek culture are all on sale each week. To help keep our podcasts free, order from Busted Tees by going to cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcasts Free link. Click on the Busted Tees banner and then shop for awesome t-shirts. Busted Tees through cspn.us. Do it today.
And now we go into the cinematic news. Wow, they're making the Half-Baked 2? Really?
Okay.
Weird. That has nothing to do with the comic book cinematic news, but that just so happened to be on this page of the first story, which is Zack Snyder proves Snyder Cut exists with new evidence and official runtime. Look, either you're going to release the stupid thing or you don't. I don't care. Let's just stop it. And granted, I don't have to actually put this in the news too much longer, but nevertheless, it is a thing I'm sure someone cares about. But we do see here that apparently that the official runtime is 214 minutes. That's like 3.5 hours long, apparently. And it says here, nearly identical to the running length of Martin Scorsese's The Irishman, which apparently is a big thing that people have been talking about. I don't care. So yeah, that's the thing. It's maybe possibly out there. At this point, doesn't really matter. Next.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
So most of you ladies and gentlemen out there probably saw the first official trailer for Wonder Woman 1984 released earlier this week. And what did you think?
It was definitely 80s and an 80s influenced trailer for sure.
Yeah, speaking of The Rock, there's a fanny pack playing a prominent role in the fashion sense.
Yes, with a character who should not be there, but I'm hoping they're going to explain how that character is still, which we knew this character is going to be back for this film, but how is a different question. But yeah, I kind of enjoyed. There's some good Wonder Woman action going on. There's some things with there's hints of Themyscira being in the mix. There's her 80s outfit, which I don't know that much about, but I have seen pictures of that gets shown. It kind of looks stupid, but at the same time, hey, it's Gal Gadot. She looks good in it. Kristen Wiig, weirdly enough, as Cheetah, although they don't show her in.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, that's what the one thing I was going to add is that we do not see Kristen Wiig as Cheetah, but we do see her in Dr. Minerva?
Yes.
Right. I want, because I'm not going to defame the awesome character of Minerva McGonagall.
That's Barbara Minerva, not exactly. Yeah. So yeah, so we get glimpses of all of those. But yeah, I kind of enjoyed it. It was pretty good. They even had, I just noticed this. There was a picture of if it wasn't 80s enough, there was I'm assuming that's from Magnum PI, or no, that's from To Her Right. That is a picture of that's a shot from National Lampoon's Vacation.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, and then to the left of her is a screenshot of Dallas, because that's J.R. Ewing. Those of a certain vintage know exactly who that is. So they clearly they definitely make sure you know that this is set in the 80s.
All right.
Our trip to the mall. So yeah, that was pretty good. If you hadn't seen it by now, go check it out. New Birds of Prey poster introduces Bernie the Beaver to the world, which I think I talked about this last week, but I didn't have the article. So
I'm like, wait a second.
Who? Yeah, so Bernie the Beaver was the stuffed beaver that played the part of, I believe I did say this last week, of Harley Quinn's comic book, fairly recent comic book volumes in the last couple of years, definitely. I'm not sure, because I'm kind of, I haven't read the recent issues, but it definitely was a part of that. Now we don't know if this beaver is talking in her head or it actually does have some sort of powers of voice. We believe it's in her head. At least I have gone on to believe that it's in her head because no one else can hear this stuffed beaver, but her. But it's Harley Quinn, and she's her mentalities are whatever they are.
Right. Okay.
Apparently, the beaver's going to be in a movie.
Okay.
As you can see, they're sitting right here, and I'm kind of hungry right now, so those hot dogs look good.
Yeah.
And I don't eat hot dogs. But regardless, next up,
the upcoming Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Ugh.
I refuse to say that long ass name.
Yeah, I mean seriously. So whatchamacallit? Harley's got a pet hyena who's got a wacky name. The hyena's name, as revealed on relatively a legible and prominently placed dog tag for the hyena. The hyena's name is Bruce, and
she has two hyena usually, but so I don't know if the other one's going to be in the movie also, or it's just so happened to be the one. But
right, and apparently costume designer KK Barrett told Heroic Hollywood that that's her pal. It's a surprise, that the hyena's name is Bruce. So that we'll see that, see what's up with that later.
Well, so I mean, so this is again, the hyenas are not new, but yeah,
I mean, yeah. I was about to say those are remnants from the animated series version.
Correct, and they've shown up in other places. Like they've even been in Injustice 2, the video game fighting series. So yeah, they've and Harley Quinn's most recent books. So there you go. Yeah, that's the thing. We'll find out about the naming of that, which I suspect is going to be about a character we know. That is also similar to the name Bruce, but hey, sure. Supergirl's Mr. Mxyzptlk recast with Reno 911 actor co-creator, as according to this report. So Thomas Lennon has been reportedly recast as Mr. Mxyzptlk for Supergirl season 5, according to Deadline. Lennon will reportedly replace actor Peter Gadiot, who portrayed Mxyzptlk in season 2. I do remember that episode. An easy trick for y'all know Mxyzptlk. He's an imp. He's like the Impossible Man, but for DC, and if you say his name backwards, he goes away. Go figure. We don't know when he's going to appear as Mxyzptlk, but or how many episodes he'll be in, but it'll happen one day. Next up, we get into this, strap in because it's a lot of news about the crisis.
Right,
enough that's been going on for this past week.
Right, the current crisis crossover, because fans of these shows of the CW Arrowverse shows know that this is going on right now. So strap in. We've got spoilers incoming. So spoiler alert in 3, 2, 1, and I'm just ringing this once for any of these for all these crisis stories. So we're going to tag team these stories, and if you need to, just fast forward. All right. First up, the Supergirl and Batwoman friendship, the friendship between Kara Danvers and Kate Kane, say that fast 5 times, is going to expand as a result of the events of this crossover.
Ooh. You mean there's going to be a World's Finest, possibly?
Possibly.
I say that not having read the article, and actually I don't know if the article actually mentions it, but regardless, yeah. So that's what it seems like they're trying to set this up. I'm still not caught up with the Arrowverse stuff, so I still haven't seen when Batwoman came in, much less have seen her show or any other shows. Actually, I take it back. I've been trying to catch up with Legends recently, which something else will bring up something else later on in the show. Speaking of crisis, Ralph's Superman comes face to face with Legends of Tomorrow's Adam, which sure, that makes perfect sense because they're both played by the same person. So apparently during the crisis, Brandon Routh will play. Well, we already know he plays Ray Palmer, the Atom, in Legends of Tomorrow. We also know that he's playing Kingdom Come Superman during the Crisis of Infinite crossovers. Excuse me. Crossover that's going on right now. So, and apparently they get to meet.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
Right. So, one aspect of this crisis crossover is that it deals with a plot, and this is my understanding. It deals a plot concerning Superman, and apparently, the death of Superman story from the comics is one part of that plot. Well, I mean, in the sense that that's part of what happens.
They bring it up. Let's put it. It's not necessarily part of the plot. But they bring it up as a part of, because it's a multiversal thing. They bring it up in relation to events that happen from my understanding. So, and I believe even in this is not like a main plot type thing. This is like, hey, something happened on the news when they were in the world, or in one of the worlds.
My entire response to that, and this is getting, I've played this a couple times already.
It doesn't matter.
Because
I appreciate the audacity of this crossover, and as we'll find out later, I don't think they'll be doing something like this anytime soon.
Right.
But
pretty big effort. So
exactly. So and the Arrowverse shows are not going to be they're going to be changed because of the fact that Arrow's going off the air anyway. So as we keep going, I like it. I know Tim has been watching it, and I know he's been on the beat for this. And because I asked him if you could watch the crossover, having not been caught up with the Arrowverse shows, and he's sounds like you can, and he's not necessarily caught up with a lot of it either, but you can still watch it.
Sure.
Pretty decently. So go for it if you feel like it. Crisis gives Tom Welling's Clark Kent the farewell he deserves. So Tom Welling, you may know him as the Superman of Smallville, that show from back in the day. He has a role in a actually I'm going to take the second one after because it also deals with him. But he's in the crossover, and apparently, the reason why, going to the next story, is that Crisis showrunner reveals why Tom Welling agreed to do his cameo, and apparently that reasoning was because, according to Welling, they gave him a scene that he couldn't say no to, or at least I think according to either Welling or Guggenheim, one of them said that. Yeah, he said, you guys have basically written the one scene I can't say no to, which was really nice. I think that was Guggenheim recounting the meeting with Tom Welling. So cool. One of these days I get around to actually watching said crossover and see what that actually is. Next up.
Right, so there's a casting call out looking for two teenage boy characters for the upcoming spin-off Superman. What's it called? Lois and Clark, or Superman and Lois? That's what.
Superman and Lois. Yeah, no, they're not going back to that again.
So Superman and Lois is spinning off. It's going to be another CW show. It's going to have Tyler Hoechlin's Man of Steel and Elizabeth Tulloch's Lois Lane. So they may be going into. They may be going into, Children of Superman stories here,
or some rumor, maybe possibly Super Sons,
right?
So whether it be both them, because they only have one kid, but I mean that doesn't mean that they couldn't do anything, or it could be Damien. We don't know, but we'll see what pans out from that when that happens. Crisis Part 2 drops another major Green Lantern reference. So a lot of, like we already said, it's going to be spoilers for some of the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole John Diggle as Green Lantern thing has come up yet again. So cool. Next.
All right. A devilish DC hero has made their Arrowverse debut in this crossover, and that is Tom Ellis's Lucifer Morningstar.
Which is, it's not weird because he has his own show, So I guess this is one of the ones that wasn't I don't remember if this bit of news came out. Let's put it that way.
That he was
'Cause
going to
we
be
know, right? Like I don't remember if this one was actually the one, but it kind of makes sense. But Lucifer was a show being out there, kind of all on his lonesome or in his own little pocket thing, and now I guess it's part of the Arrowverse in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Apparently they, Mia Smoke, John Dickel, and John Constantine pay Lucifer a visit on Earth 666. And they do it for a reason which we won't go into. But if you watch the video for that brief second, you know why. Moving right along.
Is you.
Crisis on Infinite Earths makes a major Legends of Tomorrow retcon. So apparently, during the events of part one of the event, which changed Supergirl and Arrow in big ways, it's also having an effect on other shows. In particular, one subplot from the episode has cast the premise of Legends of Tomorrow in a different light. So apparently, after Clark Kent and Lois Lane send Jonathan Kent off in a pod to escape the destruction of Argo, some things happen and it goes from there, which leads to something that retcons Legends of Tomorrow. I'm not going to sit here and read all of that. If you've seen the crossover, you know what it is. If like me, you haven't, you'll find out when you find out.
Okay.
Next.
Alrighty. Black Lightning is the unofficial Crisis chapter 2.5. So, I guess there's an episode of the Black Lightning show that is seemingly an unofficial part of the event that sort of makes it required watching.
Right. And shout out to Tim, who's pretty much all over these stories, which, I knew he was watching the thing and I knew he was on top of it. I didn't know he was writing some stuff about it. So whatever. It is what it is. That's my boy. That's our boy. We're proud of him. Crisis on Infinite Earths showrunner confirms Watchmen Easter egg. So apparently the HBO show got a little Easter egg in the crossover. Because Mark Guggenheim says finally somebody. Oh wait, on Twitter a fan posted a screenshot of the title card for Earth 666 is where Lucifer was, and they pointed out the nod to HBO's Watchmen in the form of a small billboard on the right, to which the showrunner Mark Guggenheim said, finally someone noticed. Special thanks to Damon Lindelof for making this one happen. So cool.
All right.
That's neat, I guess. Next.
All right. So there's a new poster out for this Crisis crossover.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, you can see it right
it shows them all ready for action. The heroes ready for action, and the monitor is looming above them.
Yes, indeed. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to watching this whenever this happens. Not whenever this happens. It's already happening, or it has happened. I guess at this point. Don't expect a giant Arrowverse crossover next year, though, because, like we said earlier, I think they may have spent their wad on this one. That is, editorializing on my part. Speaking to IGN, Crisis showrunner Mark Guggenheim said that he and his team plan on taking a few steps back and going small for next year's crossover. Quote unquote. Last year we took sort of step back and took a breath and then took a giant bite out of the cake. Next year we're going to take a step back again. We're going to take several. So yeah, they've been going pretty much bigger every year. So it's, there's only so far they could go before they would have to, I don't want to say write themselves in the corner, but before they write themselves into a problem, trying to surpass, themselves each year. So it's good that they're backing off. Plus, like I said, Arrow's ending, so part of that is not going to be around anymore. Whether that has anything to do with,
They probably need to take a breath and reset a little bit. Basically,
that's what it sounds like. So, which, that's always good. And plus, we don't even know how long any of these shows have anymore. Some of them are starting to get a little long in the tooth. But next up,
speaking of long in the tooth, we have a potential replacement show for the CW, and that is Stargirl, which was originally slated to be a DC Universe app exclusive, but is now going to be aired on that streaming platform first, and then the CW when the show debuts next year. So go check out that trailer, which debuted during the Crisis Aftermath show.
Right, which is weird on a couple of different reasons, because usually it would go the other way around, meaning that a show like this would show up on a network first and then go to an app. In this case, it's going the other way around. So that's kind of interesting. And it's also kind of funny because, like I mentioned earlier, I was watching Kitchen of Bone Legends of Tomorrow, and Stargirl, not this version, shows up
Right.
on that because due to whatever storyline they got set up for them. Still being a member. Wait, so this person that's playing Stargirl now is a Basinger, correct? Of that caliber, of that fame? Do we know?
Say again?
Sorry, her name is Breck Basinger, and I'm.
Oh, you think she's related to maybe Kim Basinger?
I don't know. I'm not sure. But regardless, it doesn't matter. That's another thing for another time because she does kind of look like her.
Okay.
So who knows? So Flash film no longer running in place. Oh Jesus! Sets release date. So Warner Brothers, according to Hollywood Reporter, the film has landed a release date of July 1st, 2022. When it was announced by Warner Brothers in 2014, it was expected to hit theaters in 2018, which we all know because we've talked about it here that they've had some setbacks. So, yay! Guess if you're still interested in that movie. Moving right along.
Unfortunately, Marvel has let go showrunner and all writers for Hulu's Tigra and Dazzler shows. These were animated shows, right?
It was one show actually.
Tigra and Dazzler is the one of the 5 adult-oriented animated series set up at Hulu by Marvel Television prior to Marvel Studios' Kevin Feige taking control of the TV division.
Yep, which there'll be news on that in a minute. So WandaVision, first look at Scarlet Witch and Vision revealed in image. So in a new image for WandaVision shows the first look of the title characters. And if you're watching the video, you will see that. This is all stuff coming out of a British comic convention, CCPX, I believe it is called, and Sao Paulo.
Yeah, it's called Comic Con Experience.
Yeah. And actually, the Black Widow trailer from last week also came out of that.
Right.
So, next up.
That same convention revealed Marvel Studios revealed that the Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, and She-Hulk shows coming to Disney Plus will be here sooner than you think. They're actually going to be ready for Disney Plus towards the end of 2020. Crazy.
That was the wrong one, but that's okay.
Which one? Which one did you want? This one? Is that it?
That was it.
Okay.
So yeah, apparently we could very well see these shows at the beginning of next year.
Well, not the beginning,
no, at the end of next year, or so the beginning of the year after that, I guess, or maybe even the end of the year, depending.
No, I think that's what they meant. They meant the end.
But they said they'll be ready for it right at the end of the year. But there's no saying that they would probably release it at the end.
That would be crazy if they, because your next story is going to, like we already know some of this stuff is going to be out there soon.
Well, the story after next, you mean? Because the next story is
because we're getting set images. That's what I meant. But go on.
Right. Adapero Aduye, I apologize for screwing up your name. Please forgive me. Joins the cast of Marvel's The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And apparently we get some set photos as Agents Undersecretary said from some fan account of Anthony Mackie with said lady. Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting, we're starting to get leaked set photos from the Cap and Winter Soldier show, or Falcon and Winter Soldier show. So, you know, at the end of the day, we know that that is, in production right now. So, it won't be that long before we see it. So,
Which is weird because before I saw the title or before I saw the article title, I was like, wait, they got another Dora Milaje? Which that is not me being, trying to have a laugh. It's like, hey, she's quite attractive. Anyway, next up.
yeah, Marvel TV is going to shut down. Shut them down. Shut them down. Their current shows will fold into Marvel Studios. Take it all over, Kevin Feige. Take it all over.
This is not unexpected news.
Right.
The news we have seen before this.
Yeah,
but
we're discussing this for several weeks now.
Exactly. And it, especially with, the shifting of peoples and things going on in that organization, it was a matter of time. So that's a thing that's going on. Part of it going back to that Dazzler and may or may not be related to that Tigra and Dazzler thing that we just talked about, but just so happens to come along at the same time as this announcement. So they do still have some stuff that is still in that's still working, but they also dropped a whole bunch of stuff also. So next up, Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige unveils epic The Eternals footage, shares more Black Widow. So this was a article from last week that I didn't get a chance to put in. Apparently, along with that Black Widow trailer, there was also some Eternals footage at that same comic convention. So, and I believe, I don't know if it is not attached. It doesn't appear, but there are pictures from and a video clip from said show, but apparently not any footage of the Eternal stuff.
Sure.
Next.
Fans of The Boys on Amazon were happy to see a trailer for the upcoming season 2 released, also at Comic-Con Experience in Brazil.
Yay! I guess I've never seen any of that show.
Oh, it's actually worth your time.
That's what I've been hearing, but just haven't really gotten around to it.
Sure.
Also, on a note that is not in the notes, fans of The Expanse will be happy to know that The Expanse season 4 will be starting tomorrow, as of this recording, which would be tomorrow being the 13th of December. I am happy for that because I am a fan of that show. And they have been streaming the last 3 seasons of the show on Twitch for the last 3 days. So, and I kind of got halfway caught up with it. So if you didn't know, the Expanse is a sci-fi show that was actually originally on Sci-Fi, but it got too expensive for them to produce. Amazon took them over for this season, and it sounds like next season, so they're going to get a 5th season. And it was a good show. It's based off of James Comey's sci-fi books of the same name, and apparently somebody said it was somewhat based off of some D&D his friends did. I don't know if that part is even true or not, but I wish it was. Anyway, going on to the actual news, Ip Man 4, the final trailer, brings Donnie Yen back for one last fight. Now you may be asking yourself, why are you putting this news about something that's not comic related into this thing? Because we can.
All right.
Hey, Ip Man is a good series. That's all. I mean, it's a good franchise. I don't remember if I've seen the 3rd one, but those first 2 movies were great.
Okay.
Next.
We're sad to report earlier this week that the actor Rene Auberjonois passed away after a battle with, I believe, lung cancer.
I believe that's right. Yes.
Yeah, metastatic lung cancer.
Mm-hmm. Most of you know him as Constable Odo on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Some of us go back to Benson.
I was about to say some of us of a particular vintage know him as Clayton Endicott III on Benson. So it's a sad passing because he was great. I love Odo. Odo was a
He's one of the standout, right? One of the standout of many characters. One of the standout characters from Deep Space Nine.
It is true. So, and of course, I didn't put this in the lineup, but a lot of his co-workers and other extended family members of the Star Trek universe have sent their condolences to his family and him, like including like Nana Visitor and other folks. So, yeah. Since 8, actor Toby Onwumere. I apologize. Why am I getting these names tonight? I hate it. I hate it here.
I was about to say one of those. It's one of those days when you should play. When you, I know that every once in a while you plan on me getting certain stories. This is one of those.
No, actually, I did not. I did. Yeah.
When you should have been like, oh wait, let me try to get it so that I don't have to read these names.
Hey, I cannot confirm or deny something like that. But regardless, since the actor joins the Matrix number 4, I apologize for screwing up your names, good sir. Your name, good sir, but I don't appreciate doing that, even though my name's not hard to whatever. So yeah, there's no information on who this guy will be. I don't know the characters because I haven't watched since 8. And we don't know who he's going to be playing in the Matrix 4. So good on him either way. Next up.
Speaking of the Matrix 4, I was maybe not happy. I was kind of perturbed by this. Warner Brothers.
Now you have to pick the blue pill or the red pill.
Right.
To go on to which one you're going to go see.
Warner Brothers in a strange decision decided to schedule the release for the sequel Matrix 4 to the same date as the sequel to John Wick 4, May 21st, 2021. Keanu Reeves is starring in both movies.
Yeah, so they're basically, so I don't know, this feels like a setup, although that's probably going a little bit far, because I can't believe that they would like, granted, they are totally two different movies still. But one, because of the Keanu factor, people are going to want to see it. And both of those franchises are well regarded. Well, let me rephrase that. One of those are well regarded because of the action. The other one's like, yeah, you had a couple of good movies and the rest of it kind of went down.
Well, no, what I was
but still regarded in a certain sense.
Right. What I was going to say is the Matrix, the original Matrix is the well regarded movie, and the other two are kind of like, huh?
Reloaded was actually pretty good, a little better than what people gave it credit for. But yeah, the last one didn't do it much. Right. Regardless,
and what I was going to say,
why they want to shoot themselves in the foot by doing this? They're cutting off revenue for themselves by doing this.
Right. What I was going to add though is, without having taken a look at the updated Marvel release schedule, are they trying to stay away from a Marvel movie?
That's probably logical, but at the same time, they could probably also still move
it out a little bit
away. Yeah, because May 21st, I know there's a movie around that. Like one of those movies can be pushed out of the way. So I don't know.
Yeah, kind of like if I recall correctly, Parabellum came out around Endgame time,
right?
And obviously they needed a little bit of they needed to let Endgame breathe a little bit. So they definitely scheduled Parabellum after, if I'm not mistaken, after Endgame.
I feel like they could still there's probably still enough time to where they could and or possibly will move one of these.
Right.
Because there's a lot known about the Matrix 4, and I feel like there's something that could happen to get it pushed out of the way. Maybe force pushed.
Yeah.
But anyway, and as far as the John Wick one, I mean, they've been working on the next 3 or 5 movies, whatever. So, but it says here, officially confirmed to be in active development in August after years of rumors and speculation. The 4th Matrix is expected to begin principal photography in early 2020. But though no release date has been released by Warner Brothers for principal photography. So yeah, like I said, there is still a chance for that one to move out of the way, given anything. We'll see. That would be a damn shame if they both came out the same day. Movie Protocol will be hell that day. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that would just be a tough. That would be a fun day for fans of Keanu, because if their particular showing of one is sold out, they'll try for the other. So,
or worse, yeah, probably, or better yet, just try to do both, like one back to back if they're in the same theater.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see that. I could totally see that. Anyway, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina Part 3 or Season 3 premiere date announced. So January 4th, 2020 will be the new season of Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I was about to call it Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which would be true, but not the title of the show. So yeah.
Okay.
If you're watching that show, rejoice, I guess.
All right. And last but not least, in cinematic news, apparently some moron decided to try to appropriate footage from Endgame involving Thanos and put
the Orange Bandits.
No, I was about to say Agent Orange.
Yes.
They decided to put Agent Orange's head on
Don Cheeto.
Right. And decided to have him snap away his political opposition. And, you know, for one thing, Jim Starlin, the point of this story is that Jim Starlin, the creator of Thanos, felt violated. He was not amused by the use of his creation in this video. And secondly, these morons don't know that Thanos loses in the end.
Right, which is a thing that's been said on social media early and often since this thing happened.
Idiots.
Yesterday, actually, what was it? Yesterday, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, as the time of this recording. So this is new stupidity as opposed to all of the other stupidity that's been going around impeachment. And
pretty much.
So yeah, that is the end of the cinematic news. I feel like Stalin should be able to sue for that, but I guess there's not really much you could do about that because that's whole stupidity should bear itself.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is kind of fair usage, but but we'll transition now to comic book news.
Hey, if you thought the Crisis on Infinite Earth news was done, you're crazy. Actually, this is probably the last one. Now that I think about it. Marv Wolfman returns for new Crisis of Infinite Earth story and TV tie-in Giant. So this is going to be a 100-page DC joint. I guess coming off of the TV crossover. So cool beans. It says, let's see, it'll be in Walmart December 15th. The on-sale date follows the airing of parts 1 through 3 of the crossover on December 8th, 9th, and 10th, which is also weird because I believe I saw, and I'm not sure if this is true, the Legends of Tomorrow part is going to be in January. I think that's part 5 or something. I don't know if that's true, but I was like, that's weird to take it. They've never really taken a break like that during these crossovers. So I don't know if that's actually true or that's just a date I saw. That was just a placeholder or something. Either way, this has nothing to do with that because apparently there's going to be a couple of books, giant-sized books, and the second one will be January 19th, 2020. And I guess coming off of the rest of the crossover when it happens. And according to Guggenheim, the story we're attempting to tell with our interpretations of Crisis on Infinite Earths is so ambitious we couldn't combine it to 5 hours. They're talking about the actual the event, not the book. But I guess the book is going to expand on some of that, I suppose. Next up,
tying into the news that we discussed earlier about and the review of Superman number 18 that came out this week. Apparently, DC released a one-page first look of Superman number 19, and the Daily Planet may not be long for the DC universe. Maybe as a result of what happens in Superman number 18. We will see. Yes, we will see. Thanks for screwing it up, Bendis. No, I'm just kidding. Stop.
New Batman villain, the designer, emerges in March 2020 solicits preview. To which I was thinking, wait, designer the rapper? Kind of find out, no, probably not. Regardless, yeah, but I don't know. I knew of his name. I couldn't tell you what he's done. Either way, with DC's fall March 2020 solicitations are still a few days away. Newsarama has received solicits for that month's Batman issues, and we now know that James Tynion, the first run on the title, will introduce a new mysterious master criminal named the Designer. Also, the addition of Jorge Jimenez to the series' rotating art team was announced earlier on Tuesday.
Right.
So, yeah, there's going to be a new villain. Yay. Next.
All right. So apparently, DC Comics has recently made some editorial changes.
Of which we'll talk about a couple of them.
Right. Pat McCallum, who previously oversaw the entire DC universe, has left on his own, apparently. And some other dude named Richards left too.
Yes. Wait, multiple sources has confirmed the departure of Harvey Richards, a longtime 20-plus years associate editor. Richards was one of the very few African-American editors at the Big Two and one of the nicest people this Heidi McDonald has ever met.
Okay.
So let's not shortchange that part, but at the same time,
I wasn't reading the article. So
yeah, no, but I mean, hey, I don't know who this person was either, so that is what it is. X-Classified no more as Hellions reveals its final members. So yeah, hey, remember Hellions is supposed to have a book during the Dawn of X, and here it comes at some point. And now I guess all of the members have been revealed.
It's a wacky team.
Yeah, basically. Wild Child and Empath. The Hellions is a part of the X-Men lore that I know slightly less about.
I mean, they're obviously not much like the Marauders and much like Fallen Angels. These titles do not follow necessarily in the footsteps of their predecessors in name.
That's also true. Yes.
So I would just add that Marvel was putting out the team reveal in a series of silhouetted images, where they were not revealing the members of the team, but I figured out that was Orphan Maker and Nanny right away,
right?
Based on the silhouette, and I was like,
yeah, there's not that many egg-shaped characters in the X universe. So, but to round out the team, Wild Child and Empath joined Psylocke, and I'm assuming this is Quanon, as opposed to Captain Britain, aka Betsy Braddock, Havoc, Mr. Sinister, Nanny, Orphan Maker, and Harpoon.
Oh, that's Harpoon. It's not Scalp Hunter.
Apparently,
I thought it was Scalp Hunter.
Well, you know better than me.
That looks like Scalp Hunter.
Well, that's not what it is. Yeah, I don't know.
Harpoon is a dude that has a harpoon. That dude's pointing a gun. Come on, Newsarama.
Okay, that doesn't mean that
editorial.
Okay, first of all, that doesn't mean that he couldn't have one, and I don't know.
There's a specific character that runs around with harpoons. That's not Harpoon.
They were both Reapers, correct?
No, they were Marauders.
Marauders. Yes.
Sinister.
So
I'm just yelling at. I'm yelling at Newsarama.
I mean, hey, look, we know Newsarama and other places have had typos and there's been issues before, so this is not the first one, but last if that's the case.
That's funny.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll get somebody on that. Or maybe it is Harpoon and he just has a gun now and that shoots harpoons.
No, Scalp Hunter. Try Google Newsarama. Shots fired. Shots fired. Here we go. And even rapid fire.
It's going to be real funny if that turns out that actually is Harpoon for some good reason.
I confirm.
I'm not doubting you, but I'm just saying that would be some real funny mess, and you just did all that for nothing.
Nah, I'm shooting my shot at them, yo. Shots fired. Shots fired, Newsarama.
Anyway, forget Make More Mutants, and X-Men wants to find missing mutants. We pretty much talked about this with X-Men, with New Mutants number 3 earlier, so we don't really have to go too far into this. Or actually, we don't have to talk about it at all, because we know Armor is the one who headed up that whole thing. So yeah, next.
All right. Marvel's Mutant Invasion tops the November sales chart. So all of those Dawn of X books helped Marvel have 8 of the top 10 books for the month of November.
That being New Mutants and X-Men Prime, and excuse me, X-Men, not X-Men Prime, but you know what I'm saying. Also, apparently Deceased for the DC was in the second spot, which that was a pretty good series. I don't really like zombie stuff like that, but it was actually pretty good. So yeah, I would dare say it was worth the numbers. I don't think we have any actual numbers, but we have a whole bunch of other numbers for. Oh yes, we do. So New Mutants was first, X-Men second, Absolute Carnage was third for some stupid reason. Absolute Carnage number 5. Let me rephrase that. X-Force number 1, basically the number ones of most of the Dawn of X stuff, and rounding out for number 10 is Amazing Spider-Man number 34. Oh wait, that's by shipped units, but regardless, we don't have to go through the whole thing. Just know X-Men still continue to do some numbers. Go figure. Old Man Miles kicks ass in Miles Morales, The End, First Look. So I want to say that I like this cover. Obviously, slightly reminiscent of Spider-Verse. But it's cool looking. It's like old man. And I'm sure someone's going to be doing old man Miles cosplay at some point. In fact, shout out to Classic Material if he's the one who actually does it. Not that he has the facial hair to put that off, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, but Saladin Ahmed, Damian Scott, and Dono Sanchez Almaro's The End one shot will focus on Miles Morales Spider-Man's decades into the future, with humanity fighting for survival in Brooklyn. Marvel Comics has given CBR blah 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 blah. We don't need to go into all that. So yeah. I don't know how many more of those The End books that they're going to do. I think this is the first one that they've said. We knew there was a few coming out because we talked about it before, but I guess this is one of the first ones that's going to be out the gate out of that. So, and if you're watching the video, you can see some images from it. But yeah, those The End one shots will start releasing in January. Next.
Yeah.
Hello?
What's the matter?
No, I was like, you okay over there?
Yeah, I was about to figure out if I wanted to skip this next because I was trying to open the video because I don't know what exclusive announcement the book.
Oh, well, there was one before that anyway. So
what's that?
There was a story before that anyway, which we've already.
Exactly. That's why I was already moving on to that one. Yeah. So just a mild spoiler because we already spoke about this. Roddykat read it. I will be reading this very soon. Miles's parents welcomed his new baby sister into the world as of issue 13 this week.
Yes. So now you can go ahead and do this next one.
Yeah, so I mean it's yours, but at the end of the day, you could fill me in on what the books are because I didn't want to open the video.
Honestly, the next story will have one of the books, and I just kind of skimmed the article, but basically, there I guess is also ahead of March solicits, but Marvel has a new video series called Pull List, and they previewed some books that are coming out in the month of March.
Right.
One of those books is Outlawed by Eve Ewing, with art by Kim Jensenko and cover by Pepe Larraz. And this is basically the let's say the prime members of the Champions team, or the original Champions team, or not even original Champions team, the current iteration of Champions, but the prime founding members of said team. And this is coming out of incoming, which should be starting soon. There's a Spider-Woman book which we kind of already talked about. There is a Avengers Captain America, which is from their Gameverse line, which I guess is the video game universe. And there's a Black Widow one, of course. So basically in line with the upcoming game. Then of course there's like some other stuff solicited for books that are coming out that month, including wait, is that right? Wingfoot? Huh. Interesting. Fantastic Four, Immortal Hulk, Ghost Rider, apparently Giant Size X-Men's Magneto, because that Giant Size X-Men is going to start over again. So yeah, so just some books that they decided to shed a little light on that will be coming out. I like that Spider-Woman cover. And going into the next article, Marvel drastically changes its super teen status quo in Outlawed, which was the first book we just talked about from that last article. And apparently the next generation of heroes are getting a new status quo in this Outlawed, which is an upcoming one shot by Dr. Eve L. Ewing of Ironheart fame, no relation to Al Ewing that we know of, and Jen Cinco. Outlawed see the government take action against Marvel's super teen community following a devastating tragedy. Oh, geez, no, please don't let it be Civil War over again. Reminiscent of the original Civil War event series that changed the Marvel Universe to this day. Oh, Jesus Christ, don't do this. You know what? It's Eve Ewing. She's been doing good so far, so I trust her on this one. Let's see. To me, the story isn't just about young people being in conflict with the government, but much bigger questions about what we ask of young people, how they're expected to be independent sometimes and subservient to other times, according says Eve Ewing. So I guess we'll see more about that when this book comes out.
Okay. All right. Next up, Revenge Rules in Marvel's Bounty Hunters set for March 2020. So this is an ongoing series that's going to highlight the scum and villainy of the Star Wars universe. Writer Ethan Sachs and artist Paolo Vianelli. It's going to revolve around the notorious bounty hunters, probably on the heels of the current Disney Plus series, The Mandalorian.
Sounds legit. So yeah, look forward to that, and you can see some. Why did it look like Jonah Hex? But you can see some images on the if you watch the video from that book. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is getting a photo mode. So that is the video game that is currently out, and I have yet to play, but from what I've seen of it being played, I am hopefully going to enjoy going through the story of that, if anything else, because they're saying it's kind of Dark Souls-like, and I don't care for Dark Souls. But nevertheless, from what I've seen now, makes me want to play it a little bit more. I just haven't done it yet. So yeah, it's getting a photo mode, so you can just stop the action and take pictures of the gorgeous scenery and yourself being a badass wielding a lightsaber at various points of the story. So okay. Cool. Next
up, the LBY. Shout out to Binge Mode. Baby Yoda is now in the Sims video game, The Sims 4.
AKA Yodito. So yes, apparently you can find him in buy mode. So wait, I'm assuming somebody made special. Oh, so okay. So this is actually from Max. So they have put having played some Sims 4, they have put some Star Wars related materials in there previously, because like you can dress up as like Darth Vader and a Jedi, and I think you could even have like Twi'lek, Liku, stuff like that. So but now they are putting Baby Yoda statue in The Sims 4 that you could just go and get, I guess, as an update to the game. So that's cool, and I'm pretty sure somebody by now would have probably made a custom creator of this, but it is good. So cool. Look forward to that if you are a Sims player, and actually it's probably soon if it's not already in there. Next up, Hasbro reveals the Baby Yoda toys you're looking for. So yes, folks, the Baby Yoda train don't stop, and it was a matter of time to where they were going to get some merch off the ground. Although there is some merch that was supposedly already out there, but that merch was weak. This is more along the lines of stuff that you want in the form of Black Series figures. As you can see here, if you're watching the video, that shot looks kind of weird. And there's even a video of it in various poses. And there's the Bounty Connection, which looks like a couple of other versions of Baby Yoda in various poses. So there you go. Just in time for Christmas, folks.
Mhm.
In stores everywhere. Next up,
Hasbro revealed. Oh no, is it the Coca-Cola one?
yes.
Coca-Cola's latest limited edition Star Wars bottle has OLED lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
So Coca-Cola often releases novelty drinkware, and Coca-Cola,
that thermal detonator bottle that's going to be at Galaxy's Edge, aka Star Wars Land.
right? Coca-Cola Singapore is showing off a new bottle that features OLED-powered lightsabers, but they will not be easy to find. Wow.
Yeah, which makes sense, I guess, because if that's something that's probably not going to come over here or come over here in any fashion anytime soon, then yeah, you good luck in finding somebody in Singapore to ship that to you or something. So yeah, so currently it's going to last for 3 weekends leading to December 22nd, excuse me. So if you know somebody, if you got to hook up in Singapore, look it up, put it on eBay. You probably will. I don't know. Next up, Hasbro reveals its brand new Legend series for Marvel Studios' Black Widow. Phase 4 kicks off in theaters May 1st, 2020. I guess that's for the movie part, but or is that for this? No, this is for these figures, I guess. So we have new figures for Black Widow, Yelena Belova, Red Guardian, Taskmaster, all movie versions.
Right. Red Guardian is definitely not as out of shape as he is in the movie.
Correct.
Or at least in the trailer that we saw. We may
Correct.
see him in better shape later on.
We would hope. Or if not, either way, it's to look. Maybe they have an add-on to the stomach that adds extra pounds. I doubt that because it's extremely low packaging. That looks like a Colossus arm that they just kind of repainted in spots and added something to.
If you look at the final Crimson
Dynamo.
It doesn't really look like it, but I got to take another look at it again.
Yeah, so there's a Build-A-Figure, and the which is going to be end up being Crimson Dynamo. So there you go.
Right, it's the newer version of Crimson Dynamo. I really missed the all red version. That was actually a really cool design.
Right. So you're gonna get these?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm glad that the Taskmaster has a hood. The trailer footage had the hood down around his neck, so a lot of people didn't think he had it, but the action figure definitely shows that he has it.
Yeah, that is definitely a movie version of Taskmaster. I'm kind of slightly bummed out that it's not a classic version, but you get why. But it's actually a cool looking version of Taskmaster. So I'm not too mad at that. But outside of that, everybody else it is what it is on those figures. Anyway, here's yet another story on how to collect Transformers toys, the ins and outs of buying the right bots from Entertainment Earth, the purveyors of actually selling you said bots.
Of course.
So yeah, so this is I won't go into it, but this is basically a buyer's guide on getting into Transformers collecting. If you even need any more reasoning to do that because they're cool in their Transformers, duh. Right. So anyway, that's the thing. You can take a look at it if you are so inclined. And that, folks, actually is the.
Oh, I slapped another 2 stories in there, or story and a half.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. Well, lay it on us.
So the first the penultimate story is courtesy of my new enemies Newsarama. But it did come out on the Marvel website that Marvel Comics has announced its big event of 2020. It's called Empire,
Not to
spelled.
be confused with the stupid show that's on Fox.
I was about to say you took the words right out of my mouth because this is spelled Empyre. It was unveiled in a video, albeit with copious redactions. The event will begin in December 26's incoming, with the event itself debuting in April. My understanding also is that the whatchamacallit, the Outlawed event is also going to tie into this.
Right.
So that is what I was discussing earlier with regards to the news that dropped earlier today about the new Marvel kind of big event for 2020.
Sure. Yeah, I must have missed this part. But
Yeah,
Empire,
it literally just dropped this afternoon. So
right. Empire like funeral power. So that's saying something. The earth-shattering event of 2020 will be the judge of that.
All right.
But you said you had another one?
Yeah, just click on it. It's just a link.
Oh, well,
It's just a link. I want you to put it up there.
Why would you want me to put this?
Put it up there because it has a picture. That's Scalp Hunter. Scalp Hunter.
Okay, that is not news. That's just you being spiteful.
That is Scalp Hunter Newsarama.
Okay, this is not news. This is just Agent 70 being spiteful, just for the record. But you know what? Justified, I guess. I don't know.
I am not being spiteful. I am being
kind of are.
I am being correct.
So yes, but okay.
Edits Newsarama. They're called editors. Do your job, editors.
You know, I feel like if I had said that, you'd have given me a look, but that's fine. Well, actually, I have said this before, so that's
what
I'm with you on. No, about edits and Newsarama, but I'm with you on this one.
Come on now, that's Newsarama.
Hey, look, if one of us ever got a job with them, we'd probably be singing a new tune.
We would be getting it correct.
I would hope. And I say this again, wait, hold on. Now I got to go back for a second. Sorry, folks. What news was that? Which one was that? Crap.
I'm not sure.
Here we go. Nope, that's not it. Here we go. Okay, no, I was about to say. So yeah, the person from that last article, the last proper article, is not the same person who did this. Okay, so never mind. But this person has also made mistakes, and they are the editor. So that's a whole nother situation. As we said before. Anyway, let us move past that and get on to the fact that we have come to the end of another fine episode of this here Comic Book Chronicles.
Right. I've got one last ad read.
Yes, we do.
It is for My Comic Shop. Today's podcast is sponsored by My Comic Shop. Go to cspn.us and click on the Keep Our Podcasts Free link at the top of the page. From there, click on the My Comic Shop banner and order from a vast selection of new releases, back issues, vintage classics, graphic novels, and more to be delivered right to your door. Why bother schlepping to the local comic book store when you can order your books online? My Comic Shop through cspn.us. Do it today.
And if you find out that you don't hear those particular ads during the course of the podcast, you will know that there has been work because there are some things behind the scenes that we still don't know about. I'm not saying whether I'm going to do it or not. I'm just saying. And with that, we finally come to the end of the show. I would like to thank you again for coming out. Next week is Movie Protocol.
Yep.
So stay tuned to our social medias. Well, I can pretty safely say that I won't be around for a show because my show is at 10 o'clock.
Right. Thursday is going to be a tough day. So
yeah, because Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker is coming out that night. And wait, did you say you got tickets for that or no?
I do not have tickets yet, so the weekend is still in play for me. We shall see when we can schedule another Comic Book Chronicles.
Right. So stay tuned to our social medias. That I am Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter, News Nurse Need on Twitter, CB Caps on Instagram. Or if you want to, you can go check me out on Twitch. I don't stream that much, so good luck on that one. 18_70 on Twitter and Instagram. PC_dirt on Twitter. Pop Culture Net on Twitter and popculturenetwork.com. Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, CB Cron on Twitter. That is the Comic Book Chronicles account. If you did not know that, The Click Nation on Twitter. That's the KLIQNATION, and of course theclicknation.com. Same spelling. And last but not least, Comic Book Resources, where he's over there writing his face off. After you've seen a lot of the news, well, some of the news that we have talked about earlier came from him, and that's
they at least do some editing.
Yes, that is true. Although they've had their moments.
They're a news site. They make mistakes. There's nothing, it comes with the territory.
Well, but if your name is News around, anyway, you know what? We're not. Yes,
fired!
in the rush of news that tends to happen sometimes. So we're, none of us or whatever, but nevertheless, man, you need to watch out for that going forward. And with that, you can go find us on the CSPN network. That's Coastal the Podcast Network, CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find this here podcast on Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts for the time being, whether it's going to be that former thing. Spotify. You can also find us at the Coastal the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. Again, look out for our social media for when we do our next show, because next week's movie protocol, and as well, I can't say that because I thought those were hands. Never mind. I was looking at your little diorama thing in the back. This, folks, has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
No. It was I feel the need for speed, because you know what I usually play is.
I love it when a plan comes together.